Hello and welcome to Enchanted Rose Costumes. My name is Marika and today I'm going to be sharing with you my process of making an 1890s bustle pad. I hope you enjoy. Before I begin, I want to share this table of proportions. I chose my ratio based off my corseted waist measurement and added padding to the hips and the bust to achieve the measurements listed below. I drew inspiration for my bustle pad from several different designs and combined them together to create my pattern. Using the pattern shape from this patent as a starting point, I enlarged it to fit around the back half of my waist and then added some length. I then made a second hip pad pattern, similar to the Scott design, to attach on either side. Grabbing a plain black cotton from my stash, I cut 2 layers of the back bustle pad and added a 1/2 inch seam allowance everywhere but the waist. And then I cut out 4 layers of the side hip pattern. Next, using carbon paper and my tracing wheel, I transferred the darts from my pattern to my bustle pad. And then I cut out 2 layers of cotton batting and pinned them onto the wrong side of my bustle pad pieces. Or at least what should have been the wrong side of my bustle pad pieces, because I forgot that I needed to see where I marked my darts. Whoops! Next, I stitched down the center of my darts to keep the batting in place, and then proceeded to sew the darts, which I didn't actually get any footage of as I didn't realize my camera had stopped recording. With the darts sewn on both sides of the padding, I then pinned the right sides together and stitched all the way around. I then flipped the right side out and gave it a press, and then stitched 5 rows 5/8 of an inch apart to add some body to the edge of the bustle pad. Then I repeated the steps for both hip pads with some slight differences, like excluding the darts and only stitching 3 rows instead of 5. Next, I marked the placement for the ventilation holes on the bustle and hip pads. Now, as silly as these may seem, they really do help to release heat and moisture when wearing the bustle pad. I used my Clover buttonhole cutter to slice through the layers cleanly and then installed a grommet into each slit. Next, I cut up the batting cabbage that was left over for extra stuffing. I then stuffed the pads with batting and fiber fill, trying to keep it all even, but also taking care when stuffing around the grommets to make sure that they didn't accidentally wiggle loose. Now, as I was stuffing, part of me was worried that I was putting too much in, and I did contemplate taking it completely apart after I'd finished it. But once I was wearing it, I was actually glad that I kept that amount of stuffing in because it ended up being perfect. And once all the pieces were stuffed, I then stitched the edge closed. Next I added what I believe is called tufting. I saw this used on several extant bustle pads and it really helped to condense the amount of puff that came from the stuffing. Using a button thread, because I wanted this to be quite sturdy, I stitched through the bustle pad several times in the same spot and then tied it off with a knot. Once I finished that step, I then sewed the pads together along the raw edge and then finished the edge with a 1 1/4 inch wide piece of twill tape. To finish off the bustle pad, I added 2 24-inch lengths of twill tape to either side of the pad and then stitched them in place. So I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you do end up making a bustle pad yourself, I would love if you could tag me so I could see your own creations. I love seeing everyone's creations. Something that I found kind of interesting when I was making this and researching it is I kept coming across the term bustle pad. Now I just assumed that the padding was called hip padding, but apparently the name bustle padding was carried over from the bustle era, which I kind of find interesting. So that's why I do mention hip padding and bustle padding interchangeably during the video. I'm not sure if it is 100% correct, but when I was looking through the patents, that's what kept on coming up. So I did mention this briefly during the construction video. These ventilation holes really did help with heat transfer and moisture transfer while I was wearing it in my gala gown. So these things are great. Definitely recommend adding them if you are making a bustle pad of your own, especially if it's covering a large portion of your backside. If you do want to see more regular updates, I post quite frequently what I'm working on my Instagram, and I will have the links for that down below. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments, and I will try and do my best to answer them for you. I will have the links for the patents and for the pictures that I showed in the beginning of the video if you're interested in looking at those. If you are new to my channel, I would love to hear how you discovered me. So just please leave comments down below. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the process of making the bustle pad, and I will see you in my next video. Bye! So that is the end of my video. I hope you enjoyed watching. There we go. Oh, there we go. There. Oh, I really need to clean this. Costume College was not kind to this thing. Okay, cars, are you done now? Let's try this again. I'll see you on my next video. Bye! Oh! Ah! No, I'm not even gonna try that. I gotta clean up this mess. Coming back from Coco, my sewing room is a disaster. Bye.